Good morning. Will the delegate assembly please come to order? 9:30 on the dot. Well, Captain Palenzuela, would you lead us in the pledge?
My pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think it's clear we have a quorum, but we'll know shortly, officially. And what I think we'll do, please be looking over the minutes, as usual. And I think while you're doing that, because we do have a very full agenda today with bylaws. Hopefully, the final update. And we'll just jump to the law enforcement report. Captain?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy November. It's like yesterday I was in front of you guys and it was October, the beginning of October. So time's flying by. Just a couple things to go over. Lieutenant Hill's going to address the crime report. It wasn't, we had a very light month in October, so that's good news. A couple things going on in the village. You can see there's a traffic issue with the construction going on. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So over at the Haverhill gate. So really going to be testing your patience for about the next week and a half as they do the construction and the road work off of Haverhill. So just be aware of that. I just spoke with the commissioner. The DOT has extended your light cycle off of Okeechobee. I've also stationed some extra deputies over there to help monitor the traffic situation. So, I know the busiest times are going to be rush hour in the morning and the evenings. So I encourage you, if you have any kind of business that you need to do outside the village, if you can avoid those times, it would probably be wiser as a time saver for you not to come out on Okeechobee Boulevard during rush hour, morning or evening, if you can schedule something around that. So that way you're not stuck in the traffic. On the way in here, I saw some of our deputies were already working a crash off Okeechobee near your entry-exit gate. Not knowing if it was related to the situation we have, it's just going to be heavy traffic for about a week. So just be aware of that. We're wrapping up hurricane season, so one more month. Usually November is a quiet month for us, knock on wood, let's hope that it is. We'll get through that. Holidays, be careful in your shopping plazas. Our holiday shopping seasons always start earlier, especially Black Friday towards the end of the month. Travel in groups and be careful, especially in the evenings. Our crime trends are looking pretty favorable towards the end of the year, especially with property crime. Right now we're having a little uptick in construction burglaries, but it's because the economy is doing so well. We have a lot of construction projects and we're addressing those issues. But as far as crime affecting people and persons, we're doing pretty good in the district, but never let your guard down and watch over each other. With that, I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Hill. Thank you.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hello. Okay. We had a good month. We had one vehicle burglary reported. Lady said she left her purse in her unlocked vehicle, and when she went back, it wasn't there. We had one fraud case. Person's identity was used to get some services at Wellington Regional Medical Center, identity theft kind of a case. And we had one theft. A bicycle tire was stolen off of a bike left at a rack, but the victim didn't want to cooperate with a case. He just wanted the report for documentation. And two minor assaults were reported. One was a neighbor issue with no independent witnesses or evidence or injury, so that didn't really go anywhere. And we have one case that's still open, pending investigation. So, but very, very good month. Only 178 calls in total and only 33 written reports for everything. So that's good. Would ask you again, as the captain mentioned, the shopping season will start soon. Please be very careful when you're out, in the shopping areas. Don't leave things in the front seat. If you purchase items, put them in a trunk or somewhere out of sight. Don't leave purses and wallets and cell phones and things like that in the car. Unfortunately, there are those predators out there that are just looking for those opportunities. So so please be very careful. I know you have a full agenda, so I won't keep you. Does anybody have any questions? All righty. And we'll see you this afternoon.
All right, see you at security meeting. Thank you. Okay. I'm surprised there are no questions for PBSO. All right. I think before we get into our new business, which is extensive, because I don't want to hold Sebastian up, we'll have any corrections to the minutes, which you have thoroughly perused. Yeah, they've looked at them too. All right, seeing no corrections, minutes accepted as presented. And why don't we, Eddie, why don't we have the treasurer's report?
There you go. Good morning, everyone. So in the financials, you'll notice it's portrait. It was actually supposed to be landscape. I think there was some sort of issue. So next month, you'll definitely get the much larger print, and we'll have that in landscape for everyone. The first thing I wanted to mention is for the 9 months ending, for our year-to-date budget versus our January through September 2019 expenses, we're about break even. When you look at the number all the way on the bottom for the January through September 19 actual expenses, you'll see that it shows a surplus of about $997,000. That money is due to reserves. We usually make it around this time of the year once we've gone through all the repairs and make sure that there's nothing that should have gone against the reserve. So we'll have that list ready for the fourth quarter, the next delegate meeting. The other thing I wanted to mention, we started to move some of the items down for starting October 1st, 2019, to where when you look at the financials, you'll look at the top and it will have the association fees and then the 5 breakdowns for the associated expenses: general, ambulance, cable, irrigation, security, and transportation. And then after that, you'll be able to see the breakdown for the reporter, you'll see the breakdown for the laundry income, and then the ancillary items: interest income, installation luncheons, rental income, gate passes, etc. For security, there's a little bit of a timing difference, but right now we're still running about a 23% surplus. Some of the invoices and the timing of them are a little off, so in October that number will even out for the 10 months ending. So we'll definitely have those split up. And same thing for the reporter. We started working on the reporter last month and started to break down the individual expenses for running each ad. So I hope to have a little presentation at the next meeting to kind of bring everyone up to speed on how the reporter's doing and what we're doing with it. Did anyone have any questions as they looked over the financials? Good morning, sir. I like your shirt.
Dr. H.
Richard Handelsman, Plymouth 5. Not a question, but an encomium. I'd like to praise Sebastian for his unceasing professionalism and politeness, his courtesy and his competence through 3 hours-long town halls, numerous financial committee meetings, and Thursdays. Thank you, Sebastian.
Thank you, sir. I'll keep trying my best to make sure that everyone gets at least as much transparency out of these as they possibly can. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great day.
What do we got? All right. 158 delegates signed in. Clearly, we have a quorum. Thank you very much. Full speed ahead. All right. As I said, we have somewhat of a time-consuming issue with bylaw updates. So I would like to jump over officers' reports for the moment, calling up Anita. Yes. And to get a vote out on these bylaw changes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, officers and delegates. We have a lot to cover today. We missed a quorum along the way, and last month we wanted to get the budget done, so we didn't get to any bylaws at all. I'm going to go through them as quickly, I'd say as expediently as possible, and I'd ask you to limit your comments. I don't want to close them down by any means, but these bylaws have been published in the paper since the February edition. We've had town halls, we've had revisions published. You're probably sick of them by now. They are important and we have to do them, but let's do it as expediently as we can. We have several modifications that delegates asked for to go through, and we also have all of 6 through 8, Articles 6 through 8, to take your comments on. But we're going to start first with term limits. You haven't heard about that for a while. This is a new one. Let me tell you what happened. If you, by the way, go to the very end of your packet, Rhoda put it together for us, the very last bunch of pages, I think it says bylaw votes for November 1. Do you see it at the very end of your packet? There are 5 pages. Okay, thank you. So term limits came up because up till now, we've been following the 2013 bylaws. They've been the operative ones, they've been in effect. But in July, a petitioner brought forth a new petition on bylaws and told us that she believed that a petition had been signed and voted by delegates about 5 years ago that said that any petition or proposal that goes to advisory must go through officers' executive board and finally to the delegate assembly. You know that doesn't happen now under the 2013 bylaws. If the executive board votes something down, it doesn't go further. It stops right there. It doesn't go to the delegates. But the petitioner, Olga Walkenstein, believed that that had been overturned. We couldn't find it in the database. We couldn't, it's not published on the blog. There's no official document. But John Hess, our trustee, recording secretary, found it in the minutes of the bylaws. There was a vote to make sure that every proposal goes through to the delegates no matter what, and it was voted by the delegates. At the end of this 5 pages, at the end of the packet that you see, you'll see an excerpt from those minutes on December 4th, 2015. I'm going to take a look at it with you so you know what we're talking about. Do you all have it? Can you see it? Okay. It's on page 4 of that last 5-page document, and it is United Civic Organization, Inc., Delegate Assembly 1205-15. It's a modification under amendments, and you'll see on page 5, the last page of that grouping. The executive board, after due deliberation, shall either approve or disapprove the amendment proposal as presented. The proposal shall then be published in the next issue of the UCO Reporter and shall be read and considered by the delegate assembly at the meeting following its publication. So it was voted. So all this time, proposals should have been going through the delegate assembly. So it came up, Olga brought it up, brought it to advisory, and we made the decision to bring it to you for a vote. I'm going to read to you the petition that came in and ask you to vote on it. It says, no member shall hold more than one office at a time, and all officers shall be limited to 2 consecutive 2-year terms, with 1 election cycle to follow before an officer is eligible to run for re-election in the same office. That's there on the first page of that last 5 pages that you have. I hope everybody is following. Definitely ask a question if you have one. The signatures in July when this came up had been vetted. The proponents believe that term limits would make it easier for people to run for election. Opponents believe that officers who have served should have an opportunity to run, and then it would be the delegates' decision whether or not they would be elected. So that's what it is. In July, the petition was not recommended at that point. Advisory voted against it, and it was 9-0. Officers voted 7-0, and executive board 19-1 against. But it is your decision, and so today that's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask Dave to call the question and ask for discussion, and we'll vote. David?
Oh, we have that one up, Marilyn? The term limits amendment? Well, yeah, we'll need a motion, but,
Who made a motion to accept that?
yeah. We're going to need a motion to even,
Exactly.
To accept it? Okay.
Yes. So do we have a motion?
where?
Yes, Marilyn Gordetzer, thank you. Do we have a second?
And Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
All right. Term limits, okay? Get your magic clickers out.
Discussion?
Point of order? Yes.
Discussion.
Oh, yes, of course. Of course. I didn't see anyone rushing up. Yeah, please, if you have some points or comments, please come forward. Thank you.
Good morning. Can I speak?
Yes, of course.
Okay, good morning. It's Carol Sapesi from Chatham G. I have something I'd like to read today. This is a speech from Olga Walkenstein, who regrettably was unable to attend due to a family emergency. So what she said is, one of the most difficult things I need to do today is to convince you to vote for term limits. When UCO was formed, term limits were written into the bylaws. It was understood then that when a person was voted into office who better represented himself rather than the residents, that person would be gone when his term was up. Unfortunately, this is no longer the case because when such an individual did take office, he took control of our UCO communication systems, eliminated the Century Village blog, and instituted his very own. He fired the newspaper editors who allowed honest voices to be heard and installed his people. He fired editors who provided substantial income for the UCO Reporter. He put in charge of committees a majority of people he knew would do his bidding, and then went on to convince the officers, executive board committee, and the delegates to eliminate term limits, and he succeeded. So now, in order to eliminate such a person, we have to vote him out. The problem is that when a person controls all of our means of communication which is needed in order for us to have the necessary information to make educated voted decisions, it becomes impossible to do so. So today I ask you, let your voice be heard. Do the right thing. Bring back term limits. Thank you.
Jean.
Okay, thank you. Jean Dowling, Salisbury I. I have a statement I would like to read to you.
Can we, just one moment, Jean, can we have copies of these statements for the minutes? There's no rush, but go ahead, Jean.
Okay. Aim to please. Many people say that we have term limits because we can vote people out of office. But do we? It takes work, not complacency, to seek out good people and do campaigns to elect them. The more years in office, the more authoritarian office holders become, and the more it becomes a closed shop, only open to those who buy the party line. In our case, in the past few years, the delegates have lost most of their power. We are now overlooked in approval or renewals of some contracts. Another loss that I've been speaking about lately is the loss of dedicated reserves, which was done with no notice or vote by the delegates. That takes away our right to approve expenditures over the budgeted amounts, as well as the transfer of funds. I think we need a change, don't you? Vote yes for term limits. Thank you.
Good morning, Barbara Cornish, Chatham M. I've been in UCO a long time, and we have come pretty far as transparency with the blog, with meetings, with them being recorded. If you're away, you can see them. Now, this body has an important job, and that's to vote who's going to manage our village where we live and enjoy our life. If you don't like what's going on, you vote no. If you don't want me or someone else in office, you don't elect me, just like you do in any other election. But to say someone can't run, you're hurting the village. Let everybody run. If you, the delegates, don't want them, they don't feel they're doing a job, you vote them out. But at least you have the right of that choice. Vote no on term limits.
Sir.
My name is Bill DeValley. I'm in Camden D. I support this motion for term limits. It's not that I'm opposed to any of the offices or the executive board or the way the village is really run, but we do need new blood. We need changes, and it is very true that it is difficult for a new person to run versus the incumbent. Also, just take a look at the state of our U.S. Congress and Senate, where we have people, there for decades. And I think that, the current amendment allows the person to stay in office for 2 terms. That could be 4 years, and then only sit out 1 term before they run again. So it's not like we want to purge anyone, but I think we really need just change of people involved in running the village, and also that would be a way of getting more participation in the village. Thank you.
Richard? Here we go again. Gene?
Richard Handelsman, Plymouth 5. I oppose term limits. Halloween ended 10 hours ago, but the zombie amendment keeps on shuffling back. It has already been voted on by the delegate assembly 3 times and turned down. It was turned down by the 3 appropriate committees, 38 against, 1 for. We have heard that it is difficult to run. No, it is very easy to run. All a resident owner needs say is 5 words: I am running for office. And you are in. You are guaranteed your picture in the official publication of Century Village, the UCO Reporter, with your biography, along with the incumbents and the challengers. No difference. You are guaranteed a seat at the candidates forum. You are guaranteed your name on the ballot, listed alphabetically, not by seniority or office hold. Secondly, numbers. Term limits were last rescinded March 1st, 2013. The 2 elections before that for president had 3 people each time in 2010 and 2012 running for the 1 office. The last election for president in 2018 had, you guessed it, 3 people again running for office, just as many for vice president, 210 and 212 had 3 and 5 candidates. The 2 elections after term limits were rescinded had 6 and 4 candidates. That's more with no term limits than ran with term limits. My third objection is you. The delegate assembly. Century Village has a very efficient mechanism for term limiting or term lengthening. There are the incumbents. They are not shielded from you by a phalanx of acolytes or bureaucrats. You can talk to them, or you can even, God forbid, argue with them and say nasty things about them. They are right there. And if you don't see them here, you can see them for 20 hours at their cubby holes up at the UCO office building or any of the 15 committee meetings, or you can go and just email them. My last objection is time itself. In a retirement village, health issues, family, and perhaps most significantly, a spouse who says, honey, I married you, not Yuko. It's time to go and see the grandchildren. Do you realize that in 220 election coming up, at least 4 of the officers elected in 2018 will not be running again?
Richard, thank you very much. Your time's up. 3 minutes.
Okay, last one sentence.
No, I'm sorry. 3 minutes are up. We got to do this for everyone.
Zombies come for your brains. This one comes for your ballot.
All right. Jean?
Jean Bruckert, Andover M. We are all here because we are officers of our association. I bet most of you have run for more than 2 terms. I know I have as president. I keep asking other people, please be president. Nobody wants to step up to it. So just